When an enormous factory fell into dead silence, thousands of motors ground to a halt, and all the top engineers were at a loss, the factory owner could only pin his hopes on the man known as the Wizard. He was small in stature with a severely hunched back. Walking among the massive steel machinery, he looked like an odd spirit who had wandered into the wrong era. He simply observed quietly, listened to the hum of the motors for a moment, then drew a chalk line on the machine's outer casing. Charles Steinmetz. In the golden age of electricity, this name stood for the deepest intuition and wizard-like wisdom. Tonight, let the gentle glow of the fireplace accompany us, and with this story that you need not strive to remember, step into the true story of his life. Fate deprived him of a healthy body, yet amid the intertwining of mathematics and electric arcs, he found his own divine throne. His life was a legend dancing between mockery and lofty respect. The tale of how a flawed mortal body could embrace and command the power of thunder and lightning. In 1889, thick fog locked over New York Harbor, shrouding the unease of new immigrants facing an uncertain future. On the crowded deck stood a young man less than 1.5 meters tall, his body curled under a severe spinal deformity, clutching his one-way ticket tightly. This was Charles Steinmetz, not yet known by that name, forced into exile for joining secret societies in Germany. Customs officers stared at the disabled young man with almost no money in his pocket, bluntly attempting to deny him entry. In their eyes, he was merely a defective, burden on society, unfit for labor. Without the desperate guarantee of a friend beside him, the genius who would one day rule America's power industry might have vanished forever into the ocean. While others' lives were filled with statistics, Steinmetz's beginning was steeped in prejudice and coldness. He stood on the shabby streets of Brooklyn, feeling the hostility of this new world, his ears ringing with the faint electric hum of overhead cables. His only weapon was a mind brimming with advanced mathematical formulas, and a calm resolve forged in despair. He rented a cheap basement room. To save fuel in the bitter cold winter, he wrapped himself in 2 thick blankets, calculating the hysteresis loss of alternating current on scrap paper. In that era of electrical development, Thomas Edison grew anxious over the decline of direct current. Alternating current, though immensely powerful, remained an untamable beast. Engineers could sense its immense energy, yet failed to describe its flow through transformers and wires with precise mathematical models. Steinmetz found work at a small electrical firm in Osterheld and Eichmeier. Inside a crude laboratory, he began his pursuit of unraveling magnetic hysteresis. It was a physics labyrinth where countless brilliant minds had lost their way, yet in the quiet of midnight, he heard the pulse of magnetic fields. He discovered that the energy loss of magnetic materials during repeated magnetization followed an elegantly simple mathematical ratio. Later known as the Steinmetz law, this discovery placed a firm leash on the wild beast of electricity, allowing engineers to calculate motor efficiency with perfect accuracy. When he presented his paper before the American Institute of Electrical Engineers, the audience first stared in astonishment at his unusual appearance, then became captivated by the profound logic flowing from his words. The dwarf, once scorned by customs officials on the steamship deck had, in that moment, become a figure everyone looked up to with reverence. General Electric recognized they could not do without his genius. They simply purchased the entire company he worked for, solely to legally secure his services. Steinmetz moved to Schenectady, New York, where General Electric built him an unprecedented, unrestricted private laboratory. Here, his eccentric way of life flourished, and he truly became the mysterious sorcerer of legend. He disliked sterile, tidy offices, preferring to think amid swirling cigar smoke, cacti, and exotic pets inside his greenhouse workshop. He constantly smoked a long cigar, letting ash fall onto dusty precision blueprints, yet from the chaos he perceived the purest mathematical logic. He even created genuine artificial lightning inside General Electric's laboratory. Brilliant blue arcs split the night sky, their thunderous roar shaking the entire city. He used these experiments to study lightning's impact on power transmission lines, humanity's first attempt to challenge and mimic the power of creation itself. Beneath his eccentric exterior lay a gentle, profoundly lonely soul. Fearing his physical disability might be inherited, he chose never to marry or have children. He adopted a young laboratory assistant, and welcomed the man's entire family into his home. Inside his residence known as Raven's Nest, he finally tasted the warmth of human connection. Like a child at heart, he would playfully cast spells in the laboratory with his adopted grandchildren, teaching them how to conjure vivid colors with electric current. His most famous tale unfolded at Henry Ford's factory. A massive generator had broken down, and America's top engineering teams labored for weeks without progress. Steinmetz was summoned to the site. Henry Ford waited alongside his staff, the air thick with anxiety and the heavy cost of halted production. He arrived without heavy tools, asking only for a notebook, a piece of chalk, and a simple cot. For 2 days, he stayed almost sleepless beside the massive generator, sometimes leaning close as if listening to the heartbeat of a living machine. On the 3rd day, he climbed a ladder, drew a single chalk mark on the generator's casing, and instructed Ford's engineers. "Unwind the coils here, remove 16 loops." As workers followed his instruction, the generator rumbled back to perfect life, leaving the entire room wrapped in stunned silence. Steinmetz then presented a bill for $10,000, an astronomical sum for the era. Confused, Ford asked for a detailed breakdown of costs. Steinmetz replied in his letter, "Chalk mark, $1. Knowing where to draw the chalk mark, $9,999. Ford fell silent for a long moment before paying the full amount without complaint. He understood that single line represented a lifetime of genius, solitude, and accumulated wisdom. As the years passed, Steinmetz's frame grew more stooped, yet his curiosity about the world never faded. In 1922, Albert Einstein visited the United States. Amid gatherings of renowned scientists, the great physicist specifically requested a meeting with the eccentric hermit of the greenhouse. A precious photograph captures the moment, the tall, imposing Einstein standing beside the small, hunched Steinmetz, both men gazing with shared awe at the ultimate order of the universe. Steinmetz began to speak out on social issues, using his influence to advocate for educational fairness and to ease the pressures industrial society placed upon ordinary people. Having endured the struggles of living as an outcast himself, he always protected those marginalized by life with gentle kindness. One autumn day in 1923, exhausted after a cross-country journey across America, he returned to his beloved Raven's Nest. He gently touched the high-voltage equipment in his laboratory one last time, lit his perpetually flickering cigar for the final time. He passed away peacefully in his sleep, no crackle of electric arcs, only the soft rustle of maple leaves carried on the autumn wind. News of his death spread quickly, and power stations across America voluntarily shut down for 1 minute, plunging the continent into a moment of darkness. That minute of silence was humanity's highest tribute, for it was he who chased away the original darkness of the modern world. If we look outside tonight, endless power transmission lines pulse like the lifeblood of civilization stretching across the land. Every glowing light, every roaring machine echoes the thoughts of the man who once drew a simple chalk line. Charles Steinmetz's life was a profound paradox, a flawed physical form paired with flawless mathematical brilliance, a solitary nature intertwined with boundless warmth and kindness. He proved that even when fate tries to seal every door at the start of life, one can still reach through the cracks and grasp the lightning of creation. Our story tonight draws to an end, time to close your eyes and rest. May the calm perseverance of this mysterious sorcerer wrap around you like a peaceful blanket by your pillow. Set aside complex formulas and grand theories. Simply remember that light always exists, even in the deepest midnight. Now let your breath slow steady, let your body sink into soft calm. May you drift into dreams filled with the glow of electric sparks, finding your own stretch of starry sky. Good night.